Hi people, this is KZD, aka Joshua Wyatt, rap artist and producer extraordinaire. So we are in the studio. We're going to do a quick, hopefully a quick, tutorial on the basics of Reason 5 from what I've learned from my own sweat, blood, and tears. Here we have a new session opened up, and the sequencer window, which is where the audio will be played and saved. You can copy and paste it and whatnot in this window here. Normally when you open up a default setup, the sequencer window appears in the bottom over here. So what you want to do is you want to I have two monitors, so you won't see the bar up over top that has the file and edit and create window or menus and things like that. That's on my other window, so I'm just going to tell you my other screen. I'm just going to tell you what to go to. You're going to go to, in order to change the sequencer window, you go to the window menu, and there's one that's attached sequencer window or detached sequencer window. Right now mine is detached and apart from the Reason rack. The Reason rack, if you hit tab, you can view the back of it. It shows where the wires are going. My opinion, if you're using Reason like I do just to put all your music into, then you don't need to really change any of the chords. It's really good at hooking it up for you. Only if you want to get really complex with it, you can alter that stuff. So right now we have the main output, which is right here. That's this top thing, and then the mastering thing. So basically everything goes into this mastering device, and then it goes into this main output, which goes into the system. I usually keep the master exactly where it's at. It's got a compressor on it and things like that. So what I do is, if you right click over here, the first thing you want to do is create a larger mixer. There's two mixers. The line mixer is a smaller mixer. The mixer 14.2 is the one I create. So let's create that. We've got a big mixer here with a bunch of channels, and if you tab around back, you'll notice that the left and right outputs of the main mixer here are dumping into the inputs of the master, and then going out of the master into the main output there. So now everything that we create, oh by the way, that's the tab key to go back and forth. Everything we create instrument wise is going to automatically plug it into each channel of the mixer as we go. So and also there's a tab on the left here, and you could do this with all the other instruments, is you double click that and you can call that main mixer if you like. So now we've got a main mixer. Right click, and we are going to create our first instrument. The new instrument in Reason 5 is the Kong Drum Designer. It's one of my favorites. But for those of you that don't have Reason 5, the ReDrum drum computer can be used. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a drum pattern with the ReDrum drum computer first, so that you can see how to use that. So we're going to select that. Now we have a ReDrum drum computer that shows up, and it shows up right here. We can double click that and title that Drums, and and it changes it in the mixer, and it also changes it over here. It pops up in the sequencer. The sequencer, let's talk about that real quick. This here is your like your, not your editor, but this is where wherever you put this and then you hit spacebar, that's where it's going to start playing. Also, we have a click track here, which we can turn on and off. It's a metronome that does not record. And then there's a click track here too. These buttons, they turn them, either one on or off. It works together. So when we play our thing, we can hear that metronome sound. Then we can also adjust the tempo here or here at the bottom. It's at 80 beats per minute right now. I'm going to play it at 76 beats per minute. So we're at 76. And you can also adjust the volume of the click track. I like to have it probably around like 80 or so it's not too ridiculously loud. So that's where we're at there. Also, there's a button called Cue Record at the bottom of the sequencer. That you can turn that on or off. The Cue Record I like to leave on. What it does is it quantizes while you're recording your music, quantizes the notes and keeps them in order. And then the loop button is also here. What that's for is based on where your left and your right selector are, we'll shorten it up a bit. So there's just a couple bars here. Move the right one over here. So it's just playing bar 5, 6, 7, 8, and then when it gets to 9, instead of continuing on, it's going to pop right back over here and start at 5 again. So we'll do that real quick. Hit space bar. Bar 7, bar 8, 2, 3, and back to 5, like so. If you drag this over, it will continue to play there, then it will loop back around, things like that. So here we are now. We're pretty much set up and ready to go. What we're going to do in the redrum here, which we've tagged drums, is you can insert patches. Usually it starts with the kit already. We can mute it. We can choose to play the effect or the patch. We've got a kick there. We're going to grab a patch. That is, again, right here in the center. It's the little folder button. We click that and we're going to browse some patches. I'm going to keep it real simple. We're going to stay in the folders that come with the factory sound bank so that it doesn't get too complicated. We're in the Reason Factory sound bank. We're going to look for redrum drum kits. Double click that. Then at the bottom there's exclusive drums sorted. You can double click on that, and then all your different drums are in different folders here by type. Bass drums is number 1. We'll click on that. Now we can choose our drum that we like. Got an 808 there. We've got a basic drum, congas. That one's kind of nice. We'll click on that, and then if we hit this button, we can preview what that sound sounds like. So we've got our kick drum. Next one here, we can select whatever we'd like for a snare. So we'll click on that, go back to the Reason Factory sound bank, find that redrum again, and go to the exclusive drums sorted. Now we've got snare drums to choose from. You can choose whatever you like. Let's just pick a basic one. That Brat will work. We'll hit OK on that. So now we've got a kick and a snare. Then these are already all filled in. You've got a little rim shot there, a little shaker, toms, hi-hat, little cymbal, and another cymbal. So now that we've got those set up, and you can put whatever you want wherever you want them. And then on each one, if you just look carefully, you've got your level control, your length, which is how long the thing will hit out, your pitch, which I like to mess with. Sometimes turn the kick down a little bit so that it's nice and low and hits hard, and keep the length. It depends on how you want your beat to sound. But that one sounds pretty good to me. Then down here we've got, this is 1 through 16. We can change the steps up by clicking these. I like to go to 64, which is maxing it out. And over here you choose 1 through 16, and then the next set all the way up to, what is that? I think it's 45 to 64 or something. It's too small for me to read. But in other words, we move back down to 1 through 16. If we click on the 1 here, we've assigned the, oops, I'm on the wrong thing. Over here we need to select kick right here. Now we're on the kick menu. I was on the snares before. We're on kicks now. We'll put one there and then one on 13, which is good for a kick. Move up to the next set, 1 and 13 again. Move up to the next set, 1 and 13 again. And we can throw a 5 in there. And then we can do 1, 5, I think 7 is, or no, maybe it's 9 and 13. This is just patterns. So we've got that. Now we can play that with spacebar, and it will play the pattern of that. So here we go. So that's the pattern we have. And I made a mistake. It's not supposed to hit on 13. Those ones are supposed to be 11. 1 and 11. 13 is where a snare should hit. So we're going to change that to 11. We'll see how that sounds. That's more like it. Now it's just dying for a snare. The third one shouldn't be a 5. Should be maybe a 7. You can change it while it's playing too. It's extremely user-friendly. Yeah, that's better. And we'll change it off the 5. Okay, so now we got our kick pattern. We'll select here for snares, and if we put a snare, we'll let it, I think it's 13 I know is good. I think 5 and 13. It's been a while since I've used the ReDrum for anything but just hi-hats, because it's really handy for hi-hats. 5 and 13. Now we can play. We'll start it back in the beginning of our loop here. Adjust the level of our snare. Turn the pitch down a little. Right on tempo, no problems. Good to go. Okay, so that's sweet. We've got a little pattern of drum and or kick and snare. We can adjust our bass and treble here, but we don't really want to mess with that because that would adjust the bass and the treble over the entire mixer, and obviously we want our kicks to be pure and EQ'd the way they are. The stuff that comes with Reason is the instruments are already very well EQ'd, most of them. So you don't really have to EQ much on anything, although the Kong gives you the opportunity to individually EQ every single instrument. But for example, you could take left and right. You could pan, say, the snare to hit a little bit on the left, and we'll just go a little bit further here, and we'll select a let me see. We're gonna keep it simple, so we're gonna go back to the ReDrum and say let's do a rim shot. Let's do that one. See how this sounds. All right. We can pan the snare to the right, pan the rim shot to the left. So I know it's hard for you to hear on the video, but right now the kick's hitting right in the center, and the snare is hitting on the right, more so on the right, and the rim shot's hitting more so on the left. Turn the rim shot pitch up a little bit. Do whatever you want with it. Turn the length down. So we've got a pretty nice little loop here. That's the basics of the ReDrum. Our next move is, now we're going to add some music. We're going to keep the music real simple. right click on the thing, and we're going to add a NN19 digital sampler. And then the patch button is right here. Well, I want to do a piano, so before we select the patch, I'm going to have this be a piano, so I'm going to double click on that and type piano in. That changes it to a piano. It titles it piano in the mixer, and also titles it piano over in the sequencer. We choose our patch, go into piano, and this bright piano I really like a lot. And we go over to the MIDI keyboard. We've got our nice piano there. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep it in, we're just going to keep it real simple and do 2 chords. We're going to do C minor and G minor. C minor, G minor. Those are going to be our 2 chords. So next move is, and also if you look into this, you can alter the way that the instrument sounds, the piano sounds, or whatever you choose. These different instrument players can, or samplers I guess they're called, can play tons of different instruments and you can make them sound I mean there's no limit. Just mess around with it, and it can be really neat. So what we're going to do is, now that in the sequencer we have that selected, it's dark. In other words, the drums now are selected. So when we go to play the keyboard, there's nothing on it. I'm tapping on the keyboard now, and there's no audio because we're on drums. Now, if you have pads on your thing, you can play with the pads, which is what I'm doing right now. Or there is a spot on the keyboard. I think it's middle C. No, it's 2 octaves down from middle C on my keyboard. We'll start playing the drum patterns like so in a row over on each key. You go up, including the black keys. But we're going to select piano so that in the sequencer, that's the only way I know how to switch instruments. The piano now we have that selected, so that's what we're going to play. We have the metronome put on, so we're gonna go back 1 bar here, and we're gonna hit record down here. When I hit record, it's going to automatically start playing by the click of a button, and it's going to record MIDI information off of my NN19, which is patched with the piano. So we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick. And there it goes, starting to loop again. You just hit spacebar to stop it. And now we can trim up what we had. Double click on this if we'd like, and it goes into an edit mode. Up here in the upper left hand corner of the sequencer, you can turn edit mode on and off. If you just double click on it, it automatically goes into edit mode. And this is where you can get really detailed with your MIDI information. You can click on the keys, you can erase them, you can move them up, whatever you want to do. This quantized when I played it and recorded it, so it should be right on. And it's going to loop like that, which is pretty sweet. So we turn edit mode off. Now we're back to our standard mode here. We're going to get a little more detailed here with how to move stuff around in here. You can take this, and as long as you have your arrow selected, you can move this around wherever you want. You can take it out of your loop. You can put it back in. You can trim it lower and longer. But of course, if there's no data and you go longer, it's just blank. You can right click and hit copy, or you can do, if you use an Apple, you can do Command C, and if it's a PC, I can't remember, I think it's Control C for copy, but you just copy it and then paste it over there, or same thing with the mouse way of doing it. And now we've got the exact same thing pasted right afterwards. We can take our the loop selector here and move it all the way there, so that when we start playing it, it'll play right through to the next next set, and then it's going to loop back around. It's going to keep playing through now. There it goes, loop back in. Okay, now we're going to get a little more complicated with the piano or an instrument here. If you right-click on it, you can do what's called New Note Lane. I think in the older versions, 4, 3, and whatnot of Reason, it's called something else. In fact, I don't even know if you can do this in the older version, so we're not going to go to that yet. What I am going to show you is something similar. We can record over what we did with keeping the music that we have already. I'm going to add some low-end chords. Not that low. Watch this. Okay, there we go. And now if you notice, it took those, not only did it quantize it, but it took it and put it all together in one section. And if we double click on it, you can scroll up and down. These are the lower notes and these are the higher notes. I did mess up somewhere there, so I'm going to find that. Looks like it's right here. You can tell it's off. So I just clicked that and deleted it. That's the wrong key, so I just grabbed it and moved it up. There we go. Now we got like a pretty sweet little piano loop there. So just real quick, for those that have Reason 5, I'll just show you something real sweet here. If you right click on it, you can do New Note Lane, and what this is you can choose which lane you want to record on. We're going to do this one, and we're going to do some real high, quick piano craziness. And there's your loop. That's it. I mean, basically what you're doing is you're using this NN19 sampler for multiple loops of something. You can change, you can alter each one. I kind of messed this one up. I know there's spots where I butchered because I was hitting the wrong notes. Like here's one, we'll get rid of that. And here's another one, we'll get rid of that. Maybe that right there. That looks like that might be it. I mean, it's enough to just deal with. And then as you can see, I started playing music before the loop started. Watch this. So there's a little intro there. What we can do is you can trim this up, and it won't play that. We can copy it and paste it, and then we can you know, move that back so we have that data here still. What I like to do with this is I'm going to zoom out real quick in this. We're going to go to our magnifying glass. And if you hold down the Alt key and click, you can zoom out. I'm going to make this going to be part of the hook, or I mean part of the verse, and also the hook. So you'll get the gist of what I'm talking about here in a second. I do have to zoom out again though. Here's our pattern. So basically what we have here is we've got 8 bars right here of hook, and then over here we've got nothing, and then you know when the 8th bar of your verse comes in, it's going to start with this wild piano. We're going to add other instruments and things like that, but it's just going to, so it changes it up a little bit. Now we're going to go into, real quick, we're going to show you how to put your drums into the sequencer so that they don't just play in here in an uncontrollable loop every time you hit spacebar. And we're going to minimize the piano and unminimize the redrum. What we do is we select the drums over here now, so that's where we're at in the sequencer. Now we're going to position, if say we want, for example, 8 bars of drums. So we select our loop at left and right, selected 8 bars just like we had before. If you right click on the redrum in a spot that's not, I guess you can right click anywhere on it, there's a copy pattern to track. Click on that, it's going to, bam, there's your drums, your pattern right there. Now if I press spacebar now and it comes to this, it's going to play these drums, but it's also going to play the drums in the sequencer as well. I mean in the actual redrum instrument. So there's a pattern switch on the redrum that you want to, once you paste those drums over here in your sequencer, you don't need them to play in the rack anymore. So we disconnect or take that off. Then now when we play this, we've got our drums that are going to start up. There's our drums. We're going to make our loop larger. We're going to copy and paste this 4 times. So now we have our drums playing all through the beat there. I'm going to take, if you hold down Shift, you can select multiple ones, right click, and in Reason 5 it's called Join Clips. That joins them together. In the older versions, I believe you can do the same thing, but it's called something else. Now this just gives me an idea of where my hook is and where my verse is. It's a little more organized. So now that we did that, we're going to go real quick. We're going to minimize the drums, and we're going to right click and select a, we'll do a Thor. A lead that I do a lead synth. The ones I really like, this one called the combining lead. That one's kind of cool. I like that lead a lot. We're going to use that lead for the hook. And it's, again, make everything real simple. But we're just gonna do a little bit of that on the hook here. Now I only did 4 bars of data there. So I'm going to trim that up, copy and paste. Now I'm join those clips, so now we're going to go right in. I like it. I mean, you know, we can add more on top of it, just like I showed you. We could either add another note lane, or we could just record more data over that. But we're going to just keep it simple. We're going to copy and paste that, and we're going to drag it over to our next hook section. And then we're going to need, well, actually, now our piano, right, our first piano we did, we can copy and paste that and join those clips. So now we have our verse. We can probably afford to turn off the metronome, the click track right now, even though we can turn it back on in the future if we need it. Move over to 8 bars. Turn the piano down a little bit, turn the Thor down a little bit. Turn the bass down on the piano, treble up, turn the bass down a little bit on the Thor. We're going to name the Thor hook lead. There we go. So now we got a loop of 8 bars of hook, 16 bars of I think this is 16 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it's 16 bars of verse, and then another 8 bars of hook, and then it's going to loop back around. So that's what we got there. That's a basic loop. Real quick, we'll do the. These are the tools up top that I usually use to edit the audio with. This is the most common, obviously, but if you're doing automation and things like that, where you can actually create a mixer tab in the sequencer here to do things like when you hit record and you actually change the panning and the treble and all these knobs and volumes and things, it will actually record that data in here in like a line format, so that when you play that back, it will actually move those for you. So in other words, if you want to fade in your piano or fade in your leads or fade in your drums or something like that, you can do that. We'll go through that in a little bit. But then there's the razor. The razor tool is pretty cool. What we can do is you can select the razor tool and you can clip out some drums right before the verse starts if you want. If you go to where it says snap, you can get more detailed quarter, and you can just get really in there. And magnifying tool, of course, we'll zoom way in, and we can clip out just small sections of what we want to get rid of, just a tiny bit of the lead here and there. And go back to bar, and we will zoom back out, and we'll give that a shot to see what that sounds like. Let me grab my thing here, move over and play this. It only cut one note out, but you get the idea. You can trim stuff up with the razor tool. It's pretty basic. I think the other one's a mute tool. Yeah, it's a mute tool. The hand tool, I guess you can grab things, move it around. And then you can erase stuff as well, which I don't know what the difference is between the erase and the razor, except maybe the eraser probably erases the MIDI info instead of taking the actual chopping the piece you have out of there. Next mission, let me see what we can do. Oh yeah, I was going to go through things that we can add on to the mixer. Well, before we do that, we're gonna zoom out a little bit more, and I'll show you how to copy and paste these guys. I'm gonna join these back together. Join this back together by clicking on those, just so that we have our full thing. Now, I did not put the MIDI data back in there, but that's okay. Those are going to be clipped forever. I mean, if you want them clipped, they're clipped. If not, you have to undo. So we're going to copy the main verse here of drums and paste it over there, so that, and we'll zoom out again. I'm used to working with more space, but to record this I needed to put it on one monitor. And then we'll copy the hook over here. Copy the higher piano tunes there, and on the hook we're just making another loop so you get the idea. And then here's the main piano and the other main piano for the hook right there. And make our loop bigger, and now we've got a larger loop. We've got a total of 3 hooks and 2 verses now. So that's how you do that. Next move we're going to do is, if you look on the mixer, we have 4 auxiliary knobs up top per each channel. You can add these are these you can alter here, and what they do is these are their spots, 1, 2, 3, and 4 right here. So if we right click on the mixer and do create, we can create things like a RV7000 advanced reverb, or no, we'll do the RV7 digital reverb. What it does is it hooked it up manually in the back, automatically in the back. Here it is, and it goes into the auxiliary 1. The other one goes blah blah blah. It's chained and all crazy, and it knows how to do it, which is nice. It shows up right here as reverb 1. By turning this knob up, we're going to be putting reverb on the drums. By turning this knob up, we're going to be putting reverb on the piano. Listen and you can tell. A little reverb on the piano is nice, but you get the idea of how that works. We'll right click again and do create, and we can create an equalizer. This is kind of cool. This equalizer, you have to turn the low cut we can turn on, but you turn on the levels of the EQ and change. Just give yourself an EQ however you want it. Raise it up in certain sections. If you mess with it, you can figure out how to use it. But that's our EQ there. Now that's in channel 2 auxiliary here. So if we turn that EQ up, it's going to give that EQ on the piano. A lot of high end there for the piano. And then if we go to our lead, we can change the EQ in that. So, that's how we can mess with that. And then you can add other things. You've got 2 more auxiliary channels to add stuff. There's a phaser you can put in there. You can put compressors in. The phaser's pretty wild. Let's just try that on the main hook lead there. There we are. We'll turn up auxiliary channel 3, which is over here. I think it sounds pretty cool. We'll pan the piano to the left a little bit, pan the hook lead to the right a little bit. Okay, and then we got another one. You can put a compressor there, like a maximizer or something, like if you want something much louder than anything else, or blah blah blah. So we'll minimize those. Those just stay there on their own. Next thing we'll do is we will create a quick other instrument. Let me see. I wanted to show you the combinator. We'll do that real quick. Combinator is it has its own patches already, which is a ton. It's got a ton of great stuff. But you can actually create your own instruments in a combinator by adding instruments into it. And basically, if you add, say, an NN19, N-Thor, and an NNXT, and all that stuff, and you apply patches to all of those, when you have the combinator selected and you play your keyboard, it plays every instrument at the same time, but on the same key. So in other words, and you can alter each one of those, and you can put mixers in it and all kinds of different things, anything you want. I'll give you an example by choosing something. Right here we have some electric guitar ones. The Hellspawn guitar is kind of nice. We'll change that, and as you can see, this combinator is loaded with a smaller mixer, which we talked about in the beginning, an NNXT. It's got all kinds of chorus flangers and compressors and everything, reverb. So when you press the it's pretty wild, but we'll put it on our song here. Oh, I tried to record without the metronome, and I wouldn't know where to. I would only know where to come in visually, so we're going to do that. That's slick as ice, if you ask me. We've got, there it is. We can name our combinator, and we can name it over here, and it'll change it in there and in the mixer everywhere. G-U-T-I-A-R, bam. We've got our guitar now quantized and slick. I mean, it's nice. We'll copy and paste that and put that on the hook. We got our hook layered nicely with stuff. Right now the verse only has a piano, which is no big deal. But what else can I show you? Oh yeah, we'll get a little complicated here, and that's the basics of, making a beat. If you go to File and Save, you can save it as a Reason file. You can choose to export song as audio file. It'll save it as a wave. What I do is I save it as a Reason file, and then I take Pro Tools and I open it up, and it will play in Pro Tools while I'm recording my vocals. And it's sitting there. It's just another window. The program's another window. You go into it, you can edit it, chop it up, record instruments, edit everything. It works flawlessly while you're recording your vocals. So there's no limits in that sense. And also I wanted to say, at that point the program runs as a slave. A good example is when you are in, say, Pro Tools or Acid or whatever other software you're using to record your your vocals, you're going to this here, your tempo is going to change based on what you have selected in your software that you're recording your primary song in. It's just playing this. When you change the tempo in, say, Pro Tools, for example, it's going to change the tempo in Reason automatically so that you don't have to mess with it. The other thing, real quick, a really cool trick I found is if you are listening to another song or a sample and you want to sample that thing and be relatively on beat with it, there's a tap thing here where you can click, 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 and it'll change the tempo here for you. Say it's a song, for whatever it is, and you just sit there and you're vibing to it and you click on this, and it'll automatically change the tempo based on at the rate of speed you click the tap button. That one went up to 90 beats per minute, but we're going to go back to 76. So that's cool for sampling and things like that, and just to get your, find the tempo to a beat or something you're trying to match up. Okay, next mission. we're gonna do a well, I'm gonna jump into the Kong drum machine real quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to mute these drums so that we don't have them at all. It'll play no drums because we're going to use the Kong. So we right click and create a Kong drum designer. You can click on the pads. And you right click on each pad to browse the patches. Mission is to find a decent kick. We're going to go into Reason Factory Sound Bank, Kong patches, Kong sounds and samples, and bass drums. Ooh, that one's kind of cool. So if you have pads on your keyboard like I do, you can play those. That right there needs to be, or you can play them with your mouse. That needs a better snare. We're going to go back to the same spot. Kong patches, snare drums. That one's cool. This one right here on my pads is good. The Kong factory sound bank actually has a lot of great stuff, and also you can use the Kong patches in the redrum and vice versa. So there's no limit there. Claps, got some good claps. So I'm going to use just the mouse though to show you. It also, depending on where you hit the thing with your mouse, it's sensitive. If you hit it on the bottom, it's like volume. Lower sound. If you hit it up high, it's like hitting your pad hard, as opposed to softer. But I'm going to do it with the mouse. Now this, you don't have to worry about pasting these drums over to the sequencer. They just start playing. I'm gonna just make us an 8-bar loop here. I'm gonna bring my thing back with our 8 bars, and I'm just gonna go to town, hit record, turn on my click track. Here we go. Turn the volume up. I did not hit the first kick properly, so I'm going to redo that. There we go. So I just recorded over that. Make sure everything is joined together in harmony. Join clips. Solo those out. They're all quantized. I mean, you really gotta try hard to mess it up. We'll copy these. Whoops, that's not what I meant to do. I copied the whole thing. We're going to copy just the thing and paste it on down the line. So now we have the Kong instead of the redrum. You can play them both together if you want. Doesn't matter. I just like the Kong a lot more because it's like a drum machine, but I do understand that it's not in the other software. And to be honest with you, you do not need the Kong drum machine to make decent stuff at all. It's I just like it better. So that's our Kong. However, I am going to mute that, or no, I'll just keep it playing, but I'll keep the other drums playing. We got it's like a song with two drummers. That's kind of cool. Okay, now we're going to get a little more complicated. We're going to do the mixer. Right click on the mixer and create track for main mixer. Here it is up top. Now if we record this, we can, for starters, before we record, I'm going to take the guitar down, and I'm going to take the well, I'll just show you. We'll hit record. I'll show you how it works. Here we go. Okay, now I just recorded 3 different things by moving the mouse there. I'm gonna watch this. When you go back to play it, you can trim it up if it will let me. For some reason it won't, but okay. Watch this. Look at this, highlighted in yellow. By itself, moving. Now remember, the beauty of it is you can record data over what you already did, so you don't have to do all your changes in one thing. And I could have changed other instruments and stuff too at the same time. Like for example, I'll mess with the hook. Watch this. Same thing, record. So there we have it. Now, listen, watch that. Everything's about to be changed. It's all automation. You record it once, and then you can go into it. Like this one's real complicated. We'll go into that and zoom way in. This shows the levels that I changed everything on. And you can take your pencil tool and you can just alter the heck out of everything. Go back to wherever the heck we were. I zoomed in way too far. But here we are. I just altered this one with the pencil, and it's going to change channel 4 pan the way it pans. It's smoother now instead of as wild as it was. It's still wild, but point is, you can change everything. So that's the deal. I know I'm forgetting something, but you know, and then one more thing. You can copy these, you know, bring them all over so that they're all the same length. And I don't know why this one will not let me. Oh, there it goes. I brought it back now. So you can copy and paste these suckers, and you can bring them down and put them over your next hook, so that way when you go to when your next hook comes in, or that's the last hook, I skipped a hook, but when your next hook comes in, it'll do all that automation like it did on here. Because in here, when there's no automation, it's just going to be sitting standard, unmoved. The yellow shows that they were altered, but they're not going to alter until they get to this spot. This one was one of those. So there's more stuff, and I know I'm forgetting it. There's a million other things you can do. There's tons of different more instruments that you can make. Maelstrom, other synthesizers, bass, you know, I mean, there's tons and tons of stuff. And then there's other things that I'm not too good at, like the Dr. Rex, the Dr. Rex is the older ones, but the one in Reason 5 is called Dr. Octo Rex Loop Player. And it is really, really slick. You can make drum patterns, you can make samples that play to tempo and change the tempo of the song, and the sample stays with the tempo of the song. It's insane. That is something that I am trying to figure out how to work on better, though. So that is all. Peace.